Welcome back, everyone, to another week of the Silva Skillet. Alongside me today is Dennis Hogan, our county attorney, who's running for county attorney again.
That's right, re-election.
And we're going to start right off and have Dennis explain to us what the county attorney does, tell us what goes on, and we have obviously the largest county in the state. So
we do, and the fact that they're different sizes makes them different jobs, really. And the county, all the county attorneys are the prosecutors for felony cases in the superior courts. They stand as the AG in the county. Now, in Manchester-Nashua, Hillsborough County, that means there's 20 attorneys that have to be supervised and 20 staff, so it's really a leadership role for making sure those things happen. We're the chief law enforcement officer of the county in the same way that the AG is the chief law enforcement agent of the state. And it's big stuff. I mean, these are the kind of things that we're constantly working on. A lot of felonies happen in the cities, and then a few happen out in the towns, and you know, of course, the towns take their 1 or 2 felonies very, very seriously, but you know, as part of the whole group, sometimes we can't take them as seriously as the police and those departments want to because of budget constraints. You know, there's only so much we can do, but it's important work.
Well, Dennis and I actually got the chance to work together a little bit on one little issue, moving the courthouse this past year.
Right.
But that was some of the things that I could never understand. We have a city like Nashua, second largest city in the state.
Right.
You're going to take like you mentioned, COAS. You'll know the numbers, but I think it was something like if you took 5 or 6 other counties,
right,
it doesn't add up to Hillsborough South.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
how they were even thinking of it.
It's all based on history that we have the counties where we have them. I mean, the lines were drawn 200 years ago or so, right? And they had nothing to do with the Industrial Revolution, which made Nashua and Manchester grow to the size they are. I mean, if you go back to that time, Amherst was the big town because farming was the big activity.
Well, speaking of farming,
yes,
you're going to make some apple pie for us today.
You betcha, and it is because of my, you know, sort of farming heritage. The recipe comes from my grandparents, who lived in Hollis. My mother grew up in Hollis, and there's a lot of apples out there. In fact, I understand from my mother that my grandfather helped lay out a lot of the orchards that are out there in Hollis. It's part of sort of the Hollis history. In fact, I stopped once to talk to some people at the Hollis Historic Society. One of the women who was there had been in Hollis for a long, long time, and she looked at me and she said, "You look just like your grandfather." From pictures, I know I have the hair that my grandfather has.
Is he still alive?
No, he's been gone for at least 10 years. He lived till he was 90, I think 98.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long.
So you get some good genes there.
I expect to live a long time. So now I have that on the wrong side. I haven't practiced this, but I'm starting to. So these things are great. I mean, I just wanted to show them off because it's so quick to get an apple peeled this way. And I got to be honest, I don't usually do it this way because most of the time when I'm doing apple pie, I'm doing it as part of something else. In other words, I'm watching the Patriots game and peeling the apple pies. I'm not just sitting around doing it like this, but I love these things because not only do they take off the peel for you really quick, they size it, they make it a great size, and you end up with the already peeled apple. Oh my God, that made a lot of juice. And then all you have to do is cut it, and you're done. So it's that quick. So
we have my daughter gave us one.
You can do so much so quickly. It's amazing.
It is kind of cool when you get it going like that.
Yeah, and then you just pop that off. Okay, so we have the. My mother tells me that my grandfather, he said, you know, put a heaping cup of sugar in it, but I just use a cup of sugar, and if you can make it any better for you, which you probably can't, because it's, let's face it, it's sugar and flour, and you know, those are the 2 things you try to stay away from these days, but for the fun of it, we have apple pie, right? And so I just do 1 thing of sugar, and I get as much apples as I can stuff into the pie.
So on average, how many apples are in there?
I don't even count them. I just see how much I can heap onto the plate, and then that's how much I use. So there's at least like in the neighborhood of 6. You just need a little bit of cinnamon, and so that's a teaspoon. and it doesn't matter whether you have more or less, whatever. Cinnamon tastes good. And then I guess to make the juice sort of not so runny, they have you put in a tablespoon of flour, and that's going to mix up with the apple. So
This, I think, is our first baking dish.
I saw that. Yeah, I think most of the people did use your
It's been all in the
stove.
stove.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done some of the
Some
stuff
of
that
you-
we
I-
haven't, like prep.
And I remember one of your guests was saying that they don't like to have to measure things. That's why they don't like. That's why they don't like baking. Because baking, you kind of do have to get it right. You know, with breads and that sort of thing, you can't just
No.
throw any amount in there you want. So you end
Mix
up with
it all up.
Yep, you mix it all up, and then you take your apples, and you put it over the apples, and you mix those up. And I have a bowl of apples that we put in the refrigerator. Oh, here it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few apples in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I may have cut more than I need, but the worst they can do is make it a little less sugar in there, but you're still gonna have the taste of the apple. So, and I'll tell you, one of the ways to really add good flavor is butter.
So you put the butter in when
Put
you
a little
mix
bit
it
of butter.
down?
Well, they say to just tap the butter on the top of it, and then let
Oh, just like that?
apparently it drizzles down as it's cooking. But you can, you can do this right away. You could let this sit for a day. You know, it doesn't matter much. I've even made apple pies and then frozen them and then cooked them later.
My wife does that for Thanksgiving because there's just
Yeah.
too much to do on that
Right,
day.
exactly. Yep. Whoops. Oh, geez, I'm making something I have to clean up now. So.
Steal an apple.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, this is a kid. You know, a lot of kids are introduced to eating apples by putting
Who's not gonna
cinnamon
like
and
that?
sugar on it already, and then just eating it this way. So yeah, I mean, this is such a simple thing, but really effective.
Those aren't bad apples for this time of year either.
Well, you know, the apples that I always use, I should have mentioned, you always use Cortlands. I mean, that's just the traditional thing. And the reason you use the Cortlands is you can bake them, but they remain in their form. So even though you're putting your knife through and when you're testing whether it's done or not, your Cortland keeps its shape. Whereas if you put Max in there, it just turns to mush. So I actually like a little bit of mush. I'll put some Cortlands, mostly Cortlands, or maybe a couple of Max. Throw them in there, so you end up with both the form and the mush. Because I don't know, I just like the
See,
mush.
I'm from a town in Connecticut called Southington, and every year they have the Apple Harvest Festival.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like for example, the McCowans around here, they're like this. In Connecticut, they're like that.
Yeah.
And that's the baker's choice apples of McCowan,
McCowan, yeah.
which is kind of like sweet and sour.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Granny Smith with a Mac,
Yeah.
if it makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's the one they all use over there.
Yeah. Well, I've only been from New Hampshire, so when I went out to the orchards and we said, well, we're gonna make a pie. They said, well, you gotta buy the Cortlands.
Yeah, Cortlands.
So.
No, that's what
And it's
my
always
wife used to
worked.
guess.
It's worked. And I don't think they told me to throw in my own Macintosh. That was my own little discovery that if I happened to throw them in, they ended up nice and mushy. So anyway,
Okay.
now we'll do the. Can we switch sides?
We'll switch over here.
Okay. So get a nice glass bowl so you can see my hands at work, and so let's see. We gotta need a cup of flour. So we're gonna make the dough or the crust ourselves, which obviously all this stuff can be purchased, but if you want to have some fun with it, you got to do it yourself. I think it's just one. Let me refer to my recipe, right? 2 cups. No, I didn't see it. Good thing I brought that. I forgot how many cups. Okay. And then from the recipe's funny because it tells me to use spry.
Well, I was looking at, what is that?
Yeah, spry. And I didn't know myself. I always thought it was just some, thing made out of lard or something that my grandparents had. But actually, it's just an old competitor with
Old
Crisco.
Crisco?
Yeah, just an old competitor. And,
Wow, I thought Crisco was like older than dirt.
yeah, I probably. The recipe is probably from the 30s, 40s, and I think Crisco's older than that. I think Spry was sort of new, maybe came out, it probably was part of its marketing.
That's funny. I don't think I ever heard of that.
That it gave you a recipe for this stuff, and that's probably why we have it. But anyway, it says to do 2/3 of a cup of the vegetable shortening. That's all it is. And then you don't do it all. You don't put it in all at the same time, though. So 1/2 and 1/4 equals 3/3, right?
2/3.
3/4, right. So I get 3/4 because I'm 1/2 and I'm 1/4, so that's 3/4. And then the directions are to use what? 2/3 first. Yeah, 2/3 first, okay. Which is the bigger amount. Whoops.
Oh, right, yeah, it's 3/4.
You start off with 3/4.
Yeah, I read the wrong.
All
Big
right.
letters like that, and I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah. I read it big because my contacts make me nearsighted.
You got to get LASIK surgery.
Oh, man. Love it. All right, can you hand me this?
What do you want?
Yeah,
This?
yeah, that thing. So this is not it calls for doing it with one of those pastry things, but it's just a wired thing, so it's the same. And it says to do it till it's as fine as meal, which they assume you know what that means. And I never have known what that meant, but I figured out what it needs to look like by the time I'm done. And they tell you it's for flakiness, so that you do it that way.
I never really, again, I'm one of the people like that too. I don't bake, so I never really watched mixing I didn't realize you could do that.
Do what?
Mixing the Crisco with that.
Oh,
I've always
yeah.
like, every time I ever see my wife doing stuff like that, it's just like to, grease the bottom of the pan or whatever. I never saw it really used like anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what's in. I mean, this is what makes it not particularly healthy because you have.
Okay,
This is a treat.
I say it all
Isn't
the
it?
time. Name one thing that you really, really love that's good for you.
I like a really good apple.
Would you rather have an apple or a nice slice of pizza?
Between apple and pizza these days, I'd rather have an apple, but I'd rather have an apple pie than just a regular apple. So,
See, there you go.
yeah, because this is, I notice anyway, with all the different cultures that come to the United States, any one of them have food that can make you too big, But I think the cultures come and they eat their party food all the time. They start going from it used to be the party food, now it's your everyday food, and that's what makes us big.
Well, like I say all the time, we're the only country that I know of in the world that's the poverty people are obese.
Is that right? I don't know.
If you look at other countries, and most of them they're malnourished, right?
Yeah.
That's because of our.
All right, does that look like meal to you?
I don't know what meal is. So you're in trouble, kid. You
Well,
gotta
it's
get no
even,
tips
I
from
know
me
that.
on this one.
I know it's even, so I think we're all right. So we can add the rest of it. And we'll get it to look like, and it's just, I know what peas are supposed to look like, so we're all set there. Just to do it until it looks like about the size of peas.
Oh, the whole thing's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, it's just a sort of a tip for making it so it's you'll get a flaky pastry. You want it to be flaky when you put your fork in it. You want it to kind of,
I'm getting ready to try it.
Look
here.
like it's level. So, has levels. Whoop, lost a little bit there.
So every year when you do Thanksgiving, you're the pie man?
I'm the apple pie man. Everybody's got their pies that they like, so different people bring different pies. My mother always makes a pecan pie. And
How many people do you have at
pumpkin.
Thanksgiving?
Oh man, we start with 20 always. There's always a lot of people. Big family. There's 11. My mother had 11 children, so we always have a lot of people. We can have a time, for no apparent reason, all of a sudden 15 people are at my parents' house. Just especially if we start bringing children. So many children around.
for those who don't know, Dennis was also a state rep.
That's right.
2 terms, right?
No, just one.
Just one?
I was elected when I was about 19, going on 20, and I was in college. I was at University of New Hampshire, and sometimes I would ride with people from Durham to go to Concord. Sometimes I'd take a motorcycle up. But once I was done that first term, I wanted to go out and get a job, you know, that sort of thing. So.
I tell you, it's becoming more and more of an issue with, you know, my first term, I didn't really hear much about it.
Okay.
But even then, there was quite a few
Now we gotta
people
add
that
some
were working age. Now it's a lot of them, and they figure out that we can't do this.
Now I'm supposed to be getting cold water, so let's see. Oh, do we have water? Oh, why don't we just use one of our
Cold water.
All right. There we go. So we sprinkle 4 of these on.
So no eggs or anything?
Nope. Eggs. No, it's not pie. I mean, it's not a cake.
I don't know. I told you I don't bake.
Yeah. Okay, so this will probably help. It's a 4. This is heavy, this glass. It's nice. But try not to hurry myself because I might make a mistake. But okay, it's turning out all right. Yeah, starting to see what it's going to be. And this is, you know, if you're making a pie where you just had a bottom, this would be 2 of them. But we're going to make a top, a bottom and a top.
So if you were making a different type of pie, you'd make the same crust?
Yeah, it's a general pie crust, yeah. In fact, I have to probably put the two things together. So if you don't do this, you're going to end up with stuff stuck all over your hand. So, and it's not like bread where you knead it a lot. You just want to get it so it's together, and then you're done in terms of doing this part of it. I don't know if you've ever seen bread made, but they gotta knead it. In fact, they came up with beautiful machines that you put all the ingredients in a machine, and it spends all that time mixing it around.
We had the guys in here from McMulkin. He actually made fresh mozzarella cheese, which I'd never seen cheese being made before either. It's pretty interesting how they do it.
All right, so you get one thing. We just do that in half. Looks about right. I'm relatively confident this is going to work. We're going to make an area to spread it out. So we just make a bit of a mess here.
He's going to be cleaning the pans.
What's that?
Normally there's pans and stuff to clean. There's nothing to clean with this, the countertop.
Oh yeah, just the countertop. Okay. All right, and we only need, this is going to be easy because all we needed is to be as big as that little pie plate. I usually have a much bigger pie plate to spread it out in. Whoops. Okay. So I only need it as big as the pie plate, which, see, that's plenty big enough. This is a pretty small pie plate. I don't think it matters, but I always try to get the bottom side there, just so there's a little bit of, maybe a little bit of flour on the surface of the pie plate. But again, I'm usually using glass as well, glass pie plates, not this one. But. Okay. So that's there. Then we put the just add the apples into that. plenty of
So
that.
you really stuff them in there.
As much as I can. It does make it take longer to cook, I'm sure. It takes about, the way I pack it in there, it takes about an hour to cook them at 380 degrees. There we go. And then we get some butter to put on top of that. And the butter is just gonna melt down into it. And you know, I made an apple pie with some other politicos on the radio. We had a little contest, and I came in second.
Who beat you?
Your neighbor.
No way.
Yeah,
She bakes?
it was great. It was a very fair decision.
You saw
The
her
taste
do
of
it?
her pies almost buckled my knees. But I asked her what the secret was. She said it was the butter. So I said, okay, I'm putting butter in mine.
I didn't think she cooked or anything.
Oh yeah, no, it's very good. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do the top one, and we'll be all set.
So do you have a, you don't have a primary this time, do you?
No primary, no.
That's good.
You know, I just go out and tell people I'm doing a great job. You know, what else is there? I mean, I understand the job. It's a leadership position. It's changing. It's making sure to set the culture for the office. It's communicating with the chiefs of police, and it's doing personnel stuff so that it doesn't cost the county more money than it should. And picking the people who are going to work there as part of the personnel. And I've managed to get and attract and keep great people who have been able to come in and continue to do a great job, despite the fact that we had to reduce our budget by 6%. But I've been kind of conscious of where we're going to go with the budget all along, and made sure that we had the money to do what we wanted to do, which is bring in good people. So.
Now,
So things get done.
You have an opponent, though.
Yeah, the Democrats will have an opponent for me, and I don't know who yet because they have a primary.
Oh, they do. Is that who was it you beat last time? Walsh, is that his name?
Yep.
Is he running again?
He is running again. Yep. So, and when people say, how might we know you're doing a good job? Hey, my name's not in the newspaper.
That's a good start.
If you're doing a bad job, boy, there's going to be headlines about how you screwed up, and I don't have it. Nothing like that happened. I take advantage of the vast knowledge that's there in the office. So when we have an important decision to make, we get a round table of people to talk about what we should do, and I listen, and then when I hear a good idea, I know a good idea, and so that's what we do. So you saw it broke a little bit, which is no big deal. Even when it doesn't break, you always want to put something on it, So there it is, ready to go into the oven. So
Beautiful.
we're gonna stick it in the oven, and there you go. All right, 375, and boom, an hour later you're gonna have a nice hot pie. Give it some time to cool off before you eat it, because otherwise it might be a little more runny than you want it to be. But eat it warm. Put some ice cream on it. It's great. Or plain, it's great. Old folks used to, when I say old, the old New Englanders, they put cheese on it. I've never done that myself.
You could still get that at restaurants, actually.
You can?
Slice of cheddar cheese on there.
Yeah, I've never done it that way.
I can't think of one recently I was at that had it, though.
Yeah, so.
Well, you can see the finished product, and it even tells you, good job.
That's right.
So we're going to go ahead and see how good of a job it is, because I'm dying to taste this thing. I can smell it already.
It looks great to me, and it's almost worthy of this beautiful this kitchen here at GM Roth. I was checking out this store. It's just a beautiful place.
It is amazing. He's done it. I don't think there's anything else like it in town.
I've never been to anything like it. Even the bathrooms are fancy, and shows you things that you could be buying for your house.
Trust me, I know. I have a personal experience.
Oh, okay.
But they do great work, and like I don't know if I said it on camera, but he told me when he'd be in, he told me when he'd be out, and when you disrupt your kitchen like that, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
It's just to be able to come out and not have your kitchen is not a good thing. And I saw both of my neighbors go through months,
Really?
like almost
So these
a
guys
year,
here
whatever.
take care of the installation as
everything.
well? Oh, okay.
Soup to nuts.
Oh, that's nice.
You come here, you pick out your cabinets, you pick out what you
Oh, it's
want,
so
and
pretty.
then
Yeah.
they have their own crews that put it in. You get your own worker that I had from day one that did my project. Same guy every day. He's actually a constituent. Jerry Roth used to be, not anymore with redistricting though.
You guys didn't pay too much attention to who was going to get benefits when it came to the legislature. You just separated things by numbers, and that was just
Well,
about
the
it.
thing that made it hard this time is that they doubled in size because of the amendment they passed in 2006. Went from 97 districts, I believe, to 203.
Wow.
So I kept using the analogy with your baking here. It's like trying to put 10
which
pounds
one's
of sugar in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah. But it's nice. I think it's going to take money out of the equation a little by a little bit anyway, because now you've okay. Which one is let's say that's the best looking one, so you can have.
I'm ready. Let's try County Attorney Hogan's homemade apple pie.
Cross your fingers, folks.
I can already smell it. Very, very good.
No, it's good.
Apples are done great. The crust is great. See what that nice spry does for you? So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Attorney Hogan's homemade apple pie. Again, you'll be able to find the recipe online when the show airs, so don't have to be worried about writing things down. And then once again, I want to thank the attorney for coming out. It's great to have you here, and keep up the good work, and we'll see you back up there. And we'll always see you in Nashville because the courthouse is going to stay here.
That's right. Well,
So-
I make sure to spend at least one day in Nashville, at that office in Nashville, but most of the time I spend up in Manchester because that's where the administrative work is done. So, but I'm enjoying it. I hope people will give me their support.
Well, thanks again for your service. Thanks again, everybody, and thank you to GM Roth, as always, for this beautiful kitchen that we have set up here. And we'll see you again next week with another episode of the Silva Skillet. Take care.